Hi guys, I'm recording this video to give you guys all of the information regarding the TOR team test. So basically the answers for each of the questions and then also where you could have found those answers within your training. If you guys have any questions after the video, feel free to email me via the internal email. So to go ahead and get started, history and facts. Basically every single question from this portion was in the history lecture by Ryan Gavin. There are some that you could have found elsewhere, but most of them were from that history lecture. So for question number 1, in what year was the university founded? That is 1839. Number 2, what buildings were the columns a part of, and what year did that building burn down? The columns were a part of Academic Hall, so it was D, none of the above, so you should have selected none of the above and then wrote Academic Hall, and it was burnt down in 1892. Number 3, what year was Jesse Hall completed? Jesse Hall was completed in 1895 and holds administrative offices and more. Number 4, what monument is located in front of the Chancellor's residence? That's Thomas Jefferson's tombstone. 5, what two administrative offices, departments are in Lowry Hall? That would be A, the Honors College, and Arts and Science. Number 6, what year was Memorial Tower started and completed? That would be D, none of the above. The dates are 1922 and 1926. Number 7, what year was Ellis Library finished? That was 1915. I did give this back to you guys just because a lot of people got that confused. Since I did put built, it technically was started to be built in 1913, which some of you guys did put. So I did give that point to you if you put 1913. Number 8, true false. Is Ellis Library the largest public institution research library in the state of Missouri? That is true. And then number 9, why is White Campus called White Campus? Oh, White Campus is called White Campus because it's made from the white limestone. Red Campus is called Red Campus because of the red brick. Number 11, the Memorial Tower, so that middle part of Memorial Union, was built in response to World War I. The north side was built in response to World War II, and the south side was built in response to the Vietnam War. The 4 pillars of the University of Missouri are excellence, discovery, respect, and responsibility. Also, if you forget that, remember we have 4 residential halls named after the 4 pillars. The quadrangle is named after David R. Francis. The first African-American undergrad of the university was Gus T. Ridgel. The first African-American professor at the university was Avera Strickland, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. 18, the first female chancellor was Barbara Ewing. 19, women were first admitted to the university in 1867. The first female graduate was Mary Louise Gillette. And according to the admission presentation, we have 35,000 number of students enrolled around there. And the Alumni Association is established in 1853. Awesome. So that was history and tradition, or history, just the history portion of the test. The next section was student life. A lot of the part of student life was found in the training that we did with the entire group. So we spent that one of the meetings with the entire group going to the basement of the Student Center and learning about all those resources. And then in your study guide, there was a link to the other places further down in the test that we kind of look over. And again, I'll point those out as we get to them. So the Women's Center, again, that was part of that study guide. I'm not going to go through all of these individually, but go ahead and check out that training that we did with the entire team in case you are confused. All of the first 6 are located in the basement of the Student Center. And then, so that's the Women's Center, the Wellness Center, the Multicultural Center, New Student Programming, LGBTQ, which stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, and queer. RSVP, which is Relationship and Sexual Violence Prevention Center. The Go BCC is found on Virginia Avenue across from, kind of across from Rollins, the dining hall, and it stands for the Gaines Oldham Black Culture Center. The Center of Leadership and Service is found on the 2nd floor of the Student Center in the CSI. MSA, which is Missouri Student Association, is found also on the 2nd floor of the Student Center in the CSI. And again, you can look up all of the kind of definitions of these locations and what they do for students either in the study guide or within that shift planning training for the basement of the Student Center. Please select 4 of the following groups and departments. So for this, again, I'm not going to go through all of them, but I am going to go ahead and point out where they are and maybe an example of how to talk about them on tour. So for the Disability Center, that's located in the basement of Memorial Union. The way I like to talk about it on tour is say it is a place where students can go for any temporary or permanent disability that they may encounter during their collegiate career. And I give the example of I always say, my friend actually broke her arm when she was a sophomore here, and she registered at the Disability Center. They were able to find her a note taker for some of her classes, which was really nice since she broke her right arm, which was her writing arm. So again, that's an example that you could use. The Veteran Center, that is also located in the basement of the Student Center. I always just like to say, can we give a broad definition of it, and say, if you are a veteran or are a family member of a veteran, and this is a great place for you to go to get information on any amenities that the university can offer you. The craft studio, I talked about free crafting on Fridays. I talk about how this is a great way for students to get to explore a little bit more of the fine art portion of their collegiate career if that's something that they're interested in. They can also take classes if they would like to. International Center, that's what I always like to say, that's also in the basement of Memorial Union. That's where all of our international students kind of come through when they're studying abroad here at the University of Missouri. The International Center also puts on a lot of events if you are interested in studying abroad. So they do a lot of information sessions for students at the university who are interested in studying abroad. Greek Life, that's located on the second floor of the Student Center in the CSI. I basically kind of generalize and say Greek Life kind of hubs the 3 main Greek executive boards here on campus, which is the Panhellenic Board, the IFC, Interfraternal Council, and then the NPHC, National Panhellenic Council. And again, that was in our last meeting. We talked about Greek Life in our last meeting, so you can look at the shift planning training for that if you have any questions. The Center of Service Learning, that's located in the Honors College on the second floor of Lowry Hall. I always like to say that that's a place where you can go to get internships or service opportunities on campus or around the city of Columbia. And I always like to say it's really nice, especially if you're looking for an internship. They can really pair you with an organization or group that really fits what you're learning. And then I give the example of how I worked at the Public Health Center, Columbia Public Health Department last year when I was doing my internship. Counseling Center, that's in Parker Hall, which is right behind Switzler Hall on the quad, and we offer free counseling for students here, so we do really take care of the mental health of our students on campus. The Student Health Center is located on the south side of campus, kind of behind all of those residence halls, and right behind Virginia Avenue parking garage. And you can say that the Student Health Center, you register for the Student Health Center during summer orientation, and again, you're assigned a physician for all 4 years here at the university. So it's really nice because you're not bouncing around between different doctors. You have one assigned to you, so they know your health records, and they're really able to help you when you need it. Oh, and for the Student Health Center, it's also great if you have transfer students, or maybe if people ask you about off-campus living. The Student Health Center is a great thing to bring up because we do have 3 off-campus clinics located in the Hy-Vee shopping centers that students can utilize, and all they need to bring is their student ID and like a credit card or some form of money for instance if they have to pay a copay, because those off-campus clinics are registered with the Student Health Center as well, so they don't need their insurance information to utilize those clinics. 5 free events. Again, I'm not going to list all of the ones on campus, but a couple that I saw that are good to mention are, Tiger Walk, Senior Send-Off. We have the free movies on Wednesdays and Saturdays. We have the first week of every semester is the fall barbecue and the spring barbecue that MSA and DSA kind of put on for students. We have all those concerts and speakers you could talk about. You could also talk about a lot, if you have a really research-oriented group, if you have a lot of people in the STEM field, you could talk about how we have a lot of outside speakers come in just for random lectures and seminars, and that's kind of cool as well. All right, traditions and legends. So for this section, you guys did really well. I think almost every single one of you guys passed this section. But again, I'm just going to briefly go through it. 2 student-oriented traditions. So that's, you could talk about Senior Send-Off and Tiger Walk. The 4 reasons that Switzler Bell rings. So Veterans Day, so Tiger Tap. Then you also have Mizzou Remembers, Mizzou 39, and then you have Tap Day as well. So the 4 reasons that Switzler Bell rings. 6 of the following traditions and legends. Again, I'm not going to go through all of these, but hopefully you guys do know them. And if you guys have any questions on any of these, feel free to ask an older guide or just come to one of us on leadership and we'll kind of clarify what these legends are. And again, go with your gut instinct. If you for sure think that you have no idea what that tradition is, don't say it on tour. We don't want to start spreading rumors about, the shack or anything like that. All right, the history of homecoming. So homecoming started in 1911 by Chester Brewer. And then a lot of people talked about how there's like 9,000 people that came to the first game. I really accepted anything that kind of gave a brief explanation about homecoming and how we were the founding of it. The historical origin of the university mascot Mizzou Tigers. All of this was found in the history lecture. Oh, and I forgot to mention all of the stuff up here was also in the history lecture, the admissions lecture, and it was also in your study guide. And you also should be hearing this stuff on tour. So those are 4 areas where you should have picked up all this information. The history of homecoming, again, that should be in the tours, and it was also in the history lecture. And the historical origin of the university mascot was in the history lecture. It had a slide for it, but it basically was in honor of the Tiger Militia during, I think it was the Civil War, if I remember correctly. So that's the historical origin of Mizzou Tigers. And if you look on your study guide, I actually put a link that has the actual whole story of the historical origin. So if you want to read up on that, you can. For academics, all of the departments and where they're located, that's on the March 18th shift planning training. I sent you guys a link. I sent you guys a PDF of it, and I put on the training. But it's basically a list of all of these departments and then the main advising office, the building of which that main advising office is located in. So I'll just kind of go ahead and go on through and read them out loud. But again, if you don't know them, please refer back to that sheet so you can look at them. So the first one, Kaffner, that's in the agriculture building. The School of Health Professions is in Lewis Hall. The School of Journalism is in Neff Hall. The College of Arts and Science is in Lowry. The College of Education is in Hill Hall. Trulaske School of Business is in Cornell. College of Engineering is in Laffrey. College of Human Environmental Science is in Gwynn. Sinclair School of Nursing is in the Nursing Building. So again, look back at that sheet if you don't know them. The University of Missouri is one of only 6 institutions that has med, vet, and law professional schools. Something to keep in mind, and by this I meant one of 6 public institutions, and I forgot to mention that in here. There are some other private institutions that do have the med, vet, and law professional schools as well, but we are one of 6 public. For the College of Arts and Science, something that I forgot to mention is that the Arts and Science School is so huge that not all of the advising happens in Lowry. However, having to memorize where, communication is, advised, where biology is advised, where women and gender studies is advised, that's a lot to remember. So instead of having you guys memorize all of those different majors, just remember to send anyone in the Department of Arts and Science to Lowry, and then they'll get sent to where they need to go from there. By all means, if you actually do know where a communication major would get advised, go ahead and send them there. But if you don't know, just send them to Lowry. All right, 3 research breakthroughs. That was in the history lecture as well as on the Mizzou timeline, which is on your study guide. So these are good to know just because if you do have a very STEM-oriented tour group, mentioning all these research breakthroughs are really good just to kind of put us kind of over other universities as far as recruiting goes. And it just gives us an edge per se. You guys could have listed really any of them. If you kind of researched on your own and found some, I counted those as well. But you could have talked about the pre-penicillin breakthrough on Sanborn Field. You could have talked about the observatory breakthrough within Laws Observatory. You could have talked about the cancer breakthrough that just happened a couple of years ago, and anything of the sort. All right, a lot of these were in the admission presentation, the following questions. So the student-to-faculty ratio is 20-1. The largest lecture hall is in Cornell, Bush Auditorium, and that's 501 students. The oldest academic building is Switzler Hall, and it holds the College of Communication. The University of Missouri is the flagship school of Missouri. The oldest school of Missouri is SLU. A lot of you guys put oldest, but the oldest school in Missouri is actually St. Louis University. The Student Success Center is located on Lowry Mall, so it's D, none of the above, and you should put Lowry Mall. The following offices are in the Student Success Center, and that's D, all of the above. There are more offices in the Student Success Center, but these are just 3 of them. Number 8, the Honors College is found in Lowry Hall. Number 9, engineering is getting a multi-million-dollar facelift. Number 10 is C6. There's 6 branch libraries for undergraduate students. You can go ahead and visit the library website if you want to know all of them, but there are 6. And the hours for each of these vary. They don't have similar hours at all. If someone asks about them, tell them just go to the library website because they all have a variety of different hours. The Missouri Method. So again, this was founded in the journalism school, and as long as what you wrote made sense and was correct, then I gave the points to you. But again, you could have talked about KOMU in the journalism school, the Missourian in the journalism school. You could have talked about internships for business and Kaffner. You could have talked about clinicals for nursing. You could have talked about research for any of the biological sciences or the engineering programs, stuff like that. Anything that revolved around anything that I kind of just explained would have been counted as correct. 3 resources in Ellis Library. We went over this kind of in the last meeting. We went over Ellis Library, so that's in that PowerPoint. But again, you could have talked about the databases. You could have talked about the research librarians. You could have talked about all of the 3 million books, the microforms, stuff like that. Anything really you could have talked about that we mentioned during that presentation. All right, campus culture. So this was actually something that you guys really did struggle with a little bit. However, it's not that big of a deal. I just want to mention that the campus culture stuff, that is something we went over in the last meeting. These are also things that you should be picking up on tour, / that were also in your study guide. And also some of this was mentioned in the admission presentation. So Chancellor's Diversity Initiative, it's basically a place that it's an office that the university has to ensure that diversity is being promoted on campus and that there's no diversity biases that are happening on campus. The Chancellor's Diversity Initiative office is in South Memorial 303. 2 events you could have talked about, basically any of the events that were on that link that I sent you guys in your study guide. So just go ahead and look at that. That'll give you all those events. 2 other ways you could categorize diversity other than cultural. So you could have talked about identity. You could have talked about sexual identity. You could have talked about big town, small town. You could have talked about diversity in the sense of like gender. You could have talked about diversity in the sense of ability, and then all of those resources that we have on campus. So for example, the LGBTQ Center would be a great place to list for sexual / gender identity. For ability, you could have talked about the Disability Center as a resource for that. So 2 organizations within the Go BCC. Again, this was on the study guide, and you can click that link and it sent you actually right to the whole list of organizations. You could have talked about Target Hope. You could have talked about any of the NPHC organizations. You could have talked about Missouri Black Women's Initiative. They have stuff as well, again, and the events they put on are also listed on that link. Multicultural organizations, you could have talked about, again, any of those, and the link was in the study guide. There's Asian American Association, there's Southeastern Asian American Association, there's a Jewish Association, again, all of these multicultural organizations on campus. MU Police is located in Virginia Avenue Parking Garage. A blue light emergency pole is basically a pole located around campus and within the stairwells of a majority of buildings and parking garages on campus. And if you press the button, an MU Police will come to your service within a minute to 3. 2 services offered by the Title IX office. You could have talked about sexual harassment reporting. You could have talked about bias reporting, and then you could also have talked about the mandated reporter training that the Title IX office puts on. They also have a bunch of other events as well. The Office of Student Conduct is located in the basement of the Student Center. Parking is determined by your number of credit hours, and then also how early you register. Parking and transportation is in Turner Avenue parking garage. The MU Alert system is a system where you can set up to receive emails or texts for any emergencies that are happening on campus. For this question, true or false, if someone were to witness and experience a bias incident, they can report it. That is true. That goes through the Title IX or the Chancellor's Diversity Initiative, depending on the bias. ROAR is Residential Online Access to Rooms, so please remember the acronym. Basically, this opens up in mid-April, early to mid-April, and it is the process in which an incoming student, receives a room. It's a survey, and the ability to access it is dependent on how early you apply. Dining plans, there are three main levels of dining plans, the 175, the 225, and the 275. There is also the smaller 125 meal plan that they added last year. And the dining hall names are Mark Twain, Dobbs, Plaza, Rollins. And when you go to the buffet style dining halls, it's one swipe is equivalent to one meal. When you go to any of the four kind of alternative eating places, so Emporium, Sabai, Time Out, and Baja, you use your meals as points. And then your meals do not work at the restaurants in the Student Center. They do not work at the Starbucks / Wheatstone Bistro in Memorial Union. And your meals do not work at the Mizzou markets. Those are all easy charge / cash, credit card, debit card. All right, all of the answers for this section were found in your binder, which you had since you guys got hired, so for about 6-7 weeks before you took the test. The director of the Office of Visitor Relations is B. Leanne Stroop. Your specific team leader, hopefully you guys know that, but there are 8 team leaders, so most of you guys got that one right. The minimum number of tours you should be giving is 14. Once you are a tour guide, you must sit in on one admission presentation and shadow one other tour guide per year. Football game day tours are mandatory, that is true. Black and gold days are mandatory unless you have class, so that is true. Meet Mizzou days on Saturdays are mandatory, that is true. You have 7 days to write and submit postcards. Postcards are important, so the answer to this would be false. 10, no, it is not okay to give a tour hungover. 11, no, it is not okay to give a tour intoxicated. And 12, you have 24 hours to reply to an email that requests a reply. For the reality checks and strikes, again, these were kind of simplistic ones. Most of you guys got these right. But go ahead and check your binders for the entire list of what you can get a reality check for. I don't want you guys to think that this is the entire list because it's not. And same with the strikes. So go back to your binder. I think it's on like the 3rd page maybe. And look through everything that you can get a reality check and strike for. It is true 2 reality checks equals a strike. After you receive 1 strike, you meet with your team leader. After you receive 2 strikes, you meet with Leanne, and 3 strikes, you're terminated. And again, excuses are also listed in the binder. So I hope this helps a little bit with kind of clarifying what you did get right and what you potentially got wrong. If you guys, again, have any questions, let me know via the internal email.